revealed that we didn't really understand a lot of what was going on in America, that we were out of touch. But I think also we kind of locked down after a while. I think after a while we started covering Trump in a way that like a lot of legacy news organizations, that we were trying to damage his presidency.
Okay, folks, so my camera's on the fritz a little bit, so it's kind of choppy, but I don't think my screenshots are. The screen recording is not, I don't think. But anyway, so doesn't matter so much right now. But, they had Barry Weiss, she was that New York Times reporter, and then she got fired because she disagreed with their communist narrative. And she left. One of those things, I'm not sure. I think she was let go. Anyway, so the whole point is she had this, her own program now, and she was interviewing Yuri Berliner, who is a reporter at NPR. He's been there for like 25 years. I know who he is. Like, I've heard his voice and stuff, and I never saw his face, but I was like, oh yeah. Back when I had making the forlorn mistake of listening to NPR back in the day, but now we just know NPR is another hack tabloid news station. Yeah, sorry to say, folks. You entered that realm when you started dipping into the Russia hoax. And then you had Adam Schiff on there constantly, like 15, 16 times. As soon as you start pulling in Adam Schiff as a source of truth, your credibility's in the tank. So let's take a look at this. So yeah, NPR chief. Oh, here we are playing interference too. Wanted to let you know. So after that interview, of course, that you saw just a clip of, just a little bit of it, the very first. I forgot about that. I showed that. And he's like, yeah, we kind of went off the rails. And I'm like, no, not kind of. You are completely you couldn't help yourselves. When you have a newsroom that is all leftist, all super leftist, where it's gone from somewhat liberal newsroom that do not react to they don't have knee-jerk reactions, to a newsroom that is comprised mostly of activists by a government-affiliated news station, and I will get to that in just a second to prove my point. Then you have a station that works for activism. And activism is generally, the trademark of activism is very little understanding and lots of histrionics, but little understanding of the issues. And there is none, zero to none, ability to take in the other side, which NPR, I think, for a long time had that. I think they had that reputation where we take both points of view and we kind of balance it out. But that was gone, of course. Like most news stations, they jumped off the TDS cliff when Trump got voted in 2016. And they were like, oh my gosh, our world is terrible, even though inflation was 1% under him. Yeah, so it was good times. Those were good times back then. So NPR chief executive is now coming out after what you saw the first about Yuri Berliner in that interview, and she's like, oh, that's just deeply disrespectful, and that hurts my feelings. Okay, so there's some soy stuff, and in this day and age, when you guys have said some of the most heinous lies about Trump or conservatives or Christians or whatever, I don't know what kind of reaction you're expecting here. Like for us to go, oh, wait, you treated us like refuse for all these years. Conservatives, Christians, whatever. You treated us all like refuse. And now you're like, this was profoundly disrespectful to out-networked bias. Guess what? We don't care. Because you reap what you sow, right? You reap what you sow, you reap what you sow. But again, Democrats, lefties, they absolutely loathe accountability like kryptonite. So NPR chief exec says it was profoundly disrespectful to out the network's bias. NPR so deserves this. You've treated us like crap. If there's any station out there that says you're the deplorables, 70, 80% of the nation at this point is what they think, it would be like MSNBC for sure, and then NPR. And if NPR thinks they're above the fray, no, you're right there. You lost your credibility, and now you are in essence, gosh, the National Enquirer has more credibility than you do. You know, when they report about some space alien baby that lives in a cave in Mexico that was found by a farmer, I tend to give them more credibility than you at this point, you losers. So, and you can Terry Gross it up all you want. You can have a pseudo academic voice or a voice of reason, but most of it we're finding out ever since you started down this road of activism. Now what we're seeing is simply a lot of virtue signaling as proposed academics, as supposed the voice of reason and of pseudo academia. But really, you're just a bunch of dumb shits. I mean, you really are. And I'll prove my point here. Earlier this week, the Free Press published this piece, of course, by Yuri Berliner, as I said, who said that the network had gone from liberal leaning to straight up activism, trying to damage Donald Trump's presidency and find anything we could to harm him. The first person NPR sent out to do damage control, here's the interference, send him out, ironically was the same guy who wrote the piece explaining why NPR wouldn't be covering the Hunter Biden laptop story, which was just a distraction. And that's that's a method of people who they kind of falsely present themselves as pseudo academics, is to simply just treat anything that that disturbs their narrative or adds turbulence to their narrative. They simply approach it as, we just dismiss you from the conversation. We'll just dismiss you. But that should be a red flag right there in your head. You should go, boom, then it must be important, okay? Because this is common. So it was just a distraction. Berliner admitted they ignored the story to help the Biden campaign. Now NPR chief exec Catherine Marr has come out with a statement addressing this hurtful piece. Okay, NPR chief exec Catherine Marr addresses the criticism of the network this week, questioning whether our people are serving our mission with integrity based on little more than the recognition of their identity is profoundly disrespectful, hurtful, and demeaning. They're closing the gap. They are telling you, do not use critical thinking skills. Stop it. We are allowed to question any organization, any group at any time for anything, and to demean them and debase them. We can do whatever we want. But to come along and ruin our Tea Party and come along and to question our organization is profoundly disrespectful. What's disrespectful is just straight up lying. The Russia collusion hoax that you so wonderfully dipped into with Adam Schiff, of all people, that's disrespectful. That's disrespectful. Hurtful and demeaning? Sure, I can deal. We dealt with it. But apparently you guys can barely handle the heat when somebody questions you yourselves. The great oracle. Let the oracle tell you what to think. Okay, not how to think, what to think. And if you dare escape this Rockefeller think box and escape that and go, I wonder about your methods and your credibility, and to just be affronted by that. The fact that people are actually using their critical thinking skills and to think that's an affront is a strange approach. So Ben Mullen continues, here's some of the memo. It is deeply simplistic to assert that diversity of America can be reduced to any particular set of beliefs, and faulty reasoning to infer that identity is determinative of one's thoughts or political leanings. Here we go. Enter the pseudo-academic jargon, okay? Faulty reasoning to infer that identity is determinative of one's thoughts or political leanings. Each of our colleagues are here because they are excellent, accomplished professionals with an intense commitment to our work. We are stronger because of the work we do together, and we owe each other our utmost respect. We fulfill our mission best when we look and sound like the country we serve, and you don't. You do not. You are the farthest from right now. You do not look and sound like the country you serve. Of course, put it in terms that you're somehow doing some charitable act. You're not doing charity. You are being paid. Oh, yeah. And you're being subsidized by the federal government. And I will show you that in just a second. So you can pontificate all you want on your little, in your, well, glass house, shall we call it. You can make yourself sound virtuous all you want, but you reap what you sow. You can say this all you want, but your actions, remember that old adage, actions speak louder than words. Your actions already paved the way for your demise of your reputation, okay? And yeah, I remember you guys had some fraudulent stuff financially that was going on in the 80s too. So don't try to skip around that either. You guys have been in the boneyard before. Truth hurts. It's no secret that NPR has a huge liberal bias. Of course, serving our mission. What's that? To elect Democrats. Yep. Let's get this one-party totalitarian system in play. Come on. NPR was all over the Russian collusion hoax, but wouldn't report on Hunter Biden's laptop because it might hurt Joe Biden's candidacy. And now this has been confirmed by one of their own reporters, Yuri Berliner. Steve Murr says, based on little more than our identity. What? There were numerous examples in the piece of how NPR has gone off the rails, refused to correct itself, and more. None of which were based on the identity of those who did or did not commit these acts. Now let's take a look at it. I just showed you a clip of Yuri Berliner's interview at the first, but these are some of the key points here. So before we go into some of the other commentary, I will give you some content to be able to think about. Okay, Steve Guest says NPR senior business editor Yuri Berliner details how the newsroom was overtaken by Trump derangement syndrome after 2016 and how the media uncritically pushed Adam Schiff's garbage Russia collusion theory because they wanted to damage President Trump in an interview with Barry Weiss. So some of this we saw a little bit, but here's some more content. Trump's election, I think like every newsroom, every legacy media knows when we were shocked, disturbed, distraught, really troubled. We assumed Hillary Clinton was going to win, and she didn't. And it was really an unsettling experience. But I also think, to me, it revealed that we didn't really understand a lot of what was going on in America and that we were out of touch. That is a truthful statement, very truthful statement. And actually, I will give him points for that. I'll give him kudos for that. Because he actually had a little bit of humility there, okay? Maybe not tons, but enough humility to actually be accountable, show some accountability. Too little, too late, surely. But let's continue. It revealed that we didn't understand a lot of what was going on and we were out of touch. But I think also we kind of locked down after a while. You locked down. Like a lot of legacy news organizations, that we were trying to damage his presidency. Anything we could do to harm him, check something, to harm him. And I think what we latched onto was Russia collusion. Like a lot of news organizations, which was, as I write, sort of catnip. That's a good description, actually. Although it was just rumors and a lot of it was based on pretty shoddy documents or evidence, there wasn't really anything solid. He adds, a lot of newspapers use documents or anonymous sources. We really latched on to Adam Schiff. Big, big mistake. Whether personally, professionally, privately, never latch on to Adam Schiff. He was like our muse to the Trump collusion story. We had him on constantly, a lot. I think I counted 25 times. Man, you guys really drank the Kool-Aid. And in most of those conversations, he sort of alluded to evidence he may have had or sort of teased out. Yeah, Russia, he was colluding, or the campaign was colluding with Russia. And then the Mueller report came out and no collusion. And I think we sort of let the story kind of disappear. Despite our feelings about Trump, this is a story we should have sort of treated differently. Well, that's about the most you're going to get out of the left. And that's a lot for them. That takes a lot. So, of course, here, as we read, the NPR CEO, Catherine Marr, is, this is deeply hurtful. So, okay, I understand, like in a personal level and stuff like that, yes, we should be sensitive. But on this level, no, you're getting called out and you just absolutely run from the accountability like kryptonite, as I said. So somebody said, as her, referring to her comments in that memo, people said, how did you get that job without the ability to read? Berliner listed several specific topics on which NPR did not operate with integrity. That's it. You can be hurt all day long. If I have a little kid and I say, hey, I love you, but you cannot run out into that road right now. Like a 2-year-old kid, I'm like, don't run out into the road. You can't. That would be crushing. You can't do that. They are going to be hurt. I promise you, they're going to be like, why can't I? It looks so much fun. Look, it's a giant, big asphalt tarmac. I just want to run. You're going to get hit by a car. So because I love you, I'm telling you, do not do that. So here's the thing. They are doing this. They are saying, well, it's hurtful. Okay, but we're still in the wrong. That's just consequences. Sometimes it just hurts like that. If you did the wrong thing, just be accountable. Yes, it hurts a bit. But now learn from your mistakes and move on. And, this is the closest we're going to get with the liberal media ever being accountable for anything. Because that doesn't even fit into the narrative. How dare you be accountable? If you're accountable, you're definitely not going to be on our side. You will definitely not be part of the Democrat liberal leaning team. Sid says, anytime someone like the CEO of NPR uses the word hurtful outside of speaking to 5-year-olds, as I said, they couldn't affect real positive change, sort of resigning to step aside for someone who can. Yeah. Mike says, what else is profoundly disrespectful, hurtful, and demeaning? Pretending you aren't a partisan hack. Defunding these people and auctioning off their spectrum is the only solution. So I'm going to show you something here. F111 John says, by the way, working for a local university-owned NPR and PBS affiliate between 1994 and 2011, I'd say the swing from left of center to hard radical left started in 2008 with the election of Barack Obama. That's very interesting. Okay, so do you remember this? Remember when Elon Musk did this? When he first bought Twitter, he was going at it, and it was just a glorious moment. When he relabeled NPR as U.S. state affiliated media, and people were making jokes, taking this right here. And here, let me turn on my mouse highlighter. Okay. So anyway, it's coming up. So when he labeled this is archived. Of course, it's been changed back because Elon Musk was just trying to get their goat. He was going after all the media and showing them how ridiculous they are. And he put U.S. state affiliated media on NPR. And what did NPR do? NPR quits Twitter after being falsely labeled as state affiliated media. This is their article, by the way. NPR wrote this. That's why they're saying being falsely labeled. Falsely labeled is demonstrably untrue because, here we go. Even the Washington Post says this. I'm going to leftist sources here for information. Even they admit, yes, NPR is government funded. The Corporation for Public Broadcasting, NPR's and PBS's parent, received $525 million for fiscal year 2024. Of that, $367 million went to public television stations. Public radio stations got $126 million. NPR's and PBS's assertions that direct federal funding totals a tiny portion of their budgets amounts to rhetorical money laundering. Through program charges and other fees paid by stations, their total take from Uncle Sam, the federal government, is well into double digits. In NPR's case, an estimated 17% or more of the network's budget is federal government money. That's taxpayer money. That's ours. That's our money. NPR and PBS might not be directly government controlled like Russia's Today, that news magazine, but they most definitely are government funded. Given the proliferation of alternative news media since public broadcasting's founding in the 1960s, and the expansion of underwriting advertising on public stations and private tax-exempt grants to stations and networks, now would be a good time for taxpayers to defund NPR and PBS. Then both could contest Twitter's new label with clean hands. Yes, as Elon Musk put, U.S. state-affiliated media. Why? Because it is estimated that 17% of their funds came from Uncle Sam in 2024. So there you go. So they are lying, and they lied in this article. NPR quits Twitter, might as well be at this point, quits Twitter after being falsely labeled as state-affiliated media. Well, of course you're going to play interference. You're going to cover for yourself. But obviously from the Washington Post article, it's demonstrably true that you do receive an estimated 17% of your funds from the federal government. The taxpayers, that's us. Yep, that's us. Or you just get it from the printing machine at the Federal Reserve. At this point, yeah, that's where it's probably coming from. So here's some of the choice commentary. Defunding these people and auctioning off their spectrum is the only solution. Probably, yeah. Good old National Communist Radio. That's not what he did. He questioned NPR's integrity based on their consistent published perspective. Sorry if that's upsetting. Great. Identity, quote unquote, is not and never has been part of being a good reporter or editor. This is, again, in response to what the CEO said. What did she say about identity? God, all the buzzwords, isn't it? All the buzzwords. Identity is to make you go, oh, wait, this verges on like a marginalized community type of thing. So I should be careful. I should shut my mouth because that's what they taught me to do. No. You question it. So, yes. Based on this again, she says, questioning whether our people are serving our mission with integrity based on little more than the recognition of their identity. What the hell does that mean? Is profoundly disrespectful, hurtful, and demeaning. I guess they're trying to enter the spectrum zone because when you enter a spectrum area like marginalized communities, that's when the general populace is supposed to shut up. That's when they're supposed to close their mouths and stop with the conversation. Stop questioning us. You rode that too hard, and we've seen through it, and people are going, now we're questioning more than ever, which is exactly what we should be doing. Identity is not and never has been part of being a good reporter or editor. Readers and listeners don't care one iota who you are or where you come from. They want skillful, diligent, and objective reporting. Yeah, when identity is brought up, it is a smokescreen to cover up for competency, for incompetency, lack of competency. Okay, when you start going, well, but their identity is more important. And I'm like, no, their coverage and their skill as a professional in a subject matter expert in journalism, that's what we're looking for. But remember, that's a smokescreen right now. Step one, admit you have a problem. Oh, there you go, folks. NPR, you need to head to an AA meeting and start reading the 12 Steps, or As Bill Sees It. How about that book? That's an easier book to read. It's little. It's got some little, interesting tidbits of thoughts, and that might be your first step, of course, which is admit that you have a problem, okay, and acknowledge there's a higher power. there's your start. And then do a moral inventory. It's very, 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 very easy. I think that would be great if like somebody just mailed them something on behalf of Alcoholics Anonymous and said, hey, we get it. Denial is hard. And realizing that you have a problem, it's part of the process. But once you realize and acknowledge that you have a problem, you can start working through the 12 steps of AA. So we are very hurt that we were criticized for what we actually are. Zero introspection as always. Defund NPR. Hashtag defund NPR. I agree. Yuri Berliner offered NPR a great opportunity to stop what you're doing, take a hard look at itself, and commit to doing better. They are failing to do so. His piece was about how NPR had lost the trust of the people by going full activist. NPR has no credibility left. The exact thing that NPR has stated about Christians, white males, Republicans for years while using taxpayer dollars. Using our money to turn around and weaponize your news media against us. And when I say weaponize, I specifically am talking about lying. That's the weaponization part, is when you're going, no, what we're going to do is we're going to be activists. We're going to make up stuff, and we're going to ignore these other facts here, like the report that came out and debunked the Russia collusion hoax. But no, you decided to lie. These are super simple concepts. Lots of children know them better. 5-year-olds going to kindergarten, they're like, okay, learn to share, learn to love your neighbor, be nice. These things, they're not quite here for NPR's accountability. So speaking of white males, someone dug up a photo of NPR's interns. Total number of NPR interns in 2021, 50. Number of white males, 5. And you know those are some cuck betas thrown in there. So let's take a look at this photo here, folks. Okay, yep. So there's the interns at NPR. So here's the thing too, is they're making sure to try to get quotas here. That's the sad part, is you can tell they're focused on identity more than skill for sure. And I'm not saying these people are not skilled. I'm just saying some of them are probably skilled. There's probably maybe 3 here. And the rest is just thrown in there for quotas. And that's a tall girl right there. Holy cow. I don't know what that is. That could be a they, them. Generally, yeah, that kind of fits it. Number of white males, 5. There they are right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's see. Maybe there's a 6 in there. That's pretty funny. Let's see. Okay. What a fraud. Mark constructed, the CEO of NPR, Mark constructed the most ridiculous straw man she could and proceeded to use that to prove everything in the piece was right. Remember, though, if you are in the swampy Democrat, radical left-wing universe, if you exist in that universe, you are going to you live in under kind of this veil of threat. If you deviate at all, like this guy did, like he has 25 years, but we'll see what happens to him. If you deviate at all, you are ousted and banished from this system. So I believe there is a bit of, maybe I won't say blackmail directly, but it seems like from all viewpoints in the last 3 years, most viewpoints, we can see that, and evidence has come out, there is quite a bit of intimidation and some seemingly blackmail that goes on here. Or the threat of simply, as I said, the threat of being banished. That's probably the low-hanging fruit that they use first to weaponize against anybody who goes against their narrative. Hence, they have not one conservative voice over at NPR. He said, we'll post it one more time for posterity. Here it is. This was from Terrence Samuels, NPR's managing editor for news on the New York Post Hunter Biden story. We don't want to waste our time on stories that are not really stories. And we don't want to waste the listeners' and readers' time on stories that are just pure distractions. Remember, this is one of the weapons that they use, which is simply, and it seems reasonable, but what it is a dismissal. It's this like pseudo academic dismissal of the discussion. You're not worthy of being in our discussion. This story is not worthy of our time. We're above this. We are on a higher moral ground. And whenever you see that, that is an instant, that's an instant red flag to go, whoa, 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 whoa. That means they're excluding some conversations from this. That means, to me, that indicates this story probably is important. Okay, when you get that kind of pseudo academic dismissal, the Terry Gross dismissal. So, Cat Turd says, defund now, defund NPR. And this is back in 2020. You guys are a disgrace, disgusting, total clowns. We don't listen to or watch NPR, not really stories. NPR is the exact problem with our country, hiding and covering for the left. I'm done with being nice to these people who hate our country. It appears to be a story with a corroborating witness who is a Navy veteran. Your excuses are ridiculous. You are the enemy of the people. Can't wait for your tax funding to be cut off. So I'm with them. I have a bit of a stake in this this argument, because I did used to listen to NPR a long time ago when I was buying into all this garbage, and I'm just now I can really see it in contrast too. But I knew this too. I knew this long ago. I gave up on NPR back in about the time of that, when they went down that road of the Trump derangement syndrome road. That's when I gave up, because I was like, what's going on? Man, you can get like I said, the National Enquirer, and get better coverage of stories. Anyway, so folks, so there it is. It was a little longer than I wanted, but I had to show kind of all that stuff that I had kind of gathered about that, just as this drama has unfolded with NPR since about 2016. And this is the latest revelation on their shenanigans. And obviously, and not just a little biased, extremely biased story where you just hire activists at your news station. And at that point, your credibility is pretty much gone. So anyway, thanks for watching, folks. Please subscribe. Please put a like on the video if you like it, and I will talk to you later. Bye.